I was just talking to Donald Trump. I was doing a fundraiser at Mar-a-Lago a couple of days ago, and I said, I think we're like the cool kids now.
Anna Kasparian joined Glenn Beck on his program to talk about her stance and the way things have shifted. You know, there's been a lot of fans of the Young Turks scratching their heads saying, what's going on with Anna? What's going on with Cenk? Are they right-wingers now? And I'm not sure that's specifically what they're saying, but listening to this conversation with Glenn Beck, I'm not sure what to think. I want to know your thoughts. Let's take a listen.
At the cool kids table.
This is wild. I look, I'm going to pause on saying the cool kids.
No,
I will
know.
say this.
But we've never been even near the cool kids. We're at we're in the hallway of the cool kids table. You know what I mean? I know that, but we've never, and he said, YMCA. How is YMCA suddenly cool?
It's not just about that. You know, Trump is, and the audience hates when I say this, but it's just demonstrably true. He's funny. He's an entertainer. I mean, he was an entertainer before, he was a politician, that's for sure.
That's what also causes trouble for him.
It does. It certainly does.
Yeah.
But, I think the reason why you're feeling how you're feeling about the perception of the Republican Party now versus, in the Bush era.
Hang on just a second. I don't want to say Republican Party because that's not cool. That'll never be cool. There's this new coalition of Trump, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK, Elon Musk, people that are coming from all different points of view. It's the way America that I grew up in, it's the way America was. We disagree on a lot, but we have one central vision, and that is, in this case, end this corruption, end this nonsense.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, no, that's a great way of putting it.
But wait a minute. I can cheer for that, too. Your front man is Donald Trump.
The CEO and my co-host, Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks, he is really trying to bring like a populist coalition of people together, and individuals, basically Americans who see the rot in our political system thanks to the corruption. And so it's been his top issue ever since I've met him. And so he's been trying to get money out of politics. So these politicians actually represent what the people want, as opposed to what a small group of corporate executives want. And I think that's really the key in fixing what's broken in our political system. The other thing is, look, members of Congress really should see themselves as public servants, as opposed to individuals who are elected into office just to enrich themselves.
All of them should be.
So we have to ban their ability to trade individual stocks. This is madness that they're able to do this.
Ban the trading of stocks. Do not allow them to go into any business that they had any regulation or anything for at least 10 years.
I totally agree.
This revolving door is obscene, absolutely obscene.
Now, again, I can agree with that sentiment. I don't feel like I've heard Glenn Beck or any of these, Steve Bannon doesn't, this is new, right? This new populist is like, oh, we should do these common sense things. Like, you didn't do them in the first Trump term, right? Don't try and paint this like this has been Donald Trump's crusade all along. This is new language from you guys.
I say this kindly because I've been on the other side of the table, and I wish people had given me the benefit of the doubt of being a decent human being and actually meaning what I say, because I do. So I say this believing you're an actual decent human being. Okay.
Okay.
The one thing that I look for in people who say, I've seen the light, is I know when I've changed, and I've changed many big points of view and many big things in my life, but I can tell you what color the carpet was when I had that epiphany. I can tell you the time of day. I can tell you everything about that moment because it was like, holy mother, I'm wrong. And time stopped and you remember it.
Right.
If you're sincere.
I don't think that's necessarily true. I think for some people, change comes slowly, and especially if your career and your life depends on a particular identity, a particular outward identity, you're going to resist internal change. And you're going to resist and resist and resist until you can't resist anymore. That's what I feel happened with me.
Okay, so wait. So then what was that? I think we might be saying similar things because it's not, the heavens didn't open up.
Right.
You all of a sudden go, I can't do this. I can't say this anymore. So was there a time, yes, it happened slowly, but was there a moment that changed you and said, I can't do this anymore. I can't do it anymore?
I mean, I would say the phrase I can't do it anymore, for me, applies to a handful of policy issues that the Democratic Party has been championing that I don't agree with.
So there's no personal, there was no personal event or anything that happened in your life to where you went,
I mean, I was sexually assaulted by a homeless guy, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I was sexually assaulted by a homeless guy in Los Angeles in my neighborhood as I was walking my dog.
Oh my gosh.
And it was awful. I mean, I've talked about it multiple times. And look, I don't want to put myself in this position of being like this victim who's looking for empathy, but it is the moment where something very scary happened to me. And
why did that?
It wasn't just that had happened to me. It was the reaction I received from a faction of the left, okay? The social justice left, if you want to call it that, who think that, in some cases, the criminals are actually the victims and the victims are the criminals. Like, it's insane. And I don't know how big this faction is, but they're loud enough to push me away completely. And so it wasn't that had happened to me. It was the reaction of the left and how they were far more concerned with me talking about it because they felt that was stigmatizing the homeless community. I have never gone out of my way to say negative things about homeless people. I mean, people who are living out on the streets are, in a lot of cases, victims who need help, right?
Yes.
But I was victimized by a guy that was strung out on something, could have been meth. He was jerking around as he was walking toward me with his buddy. And
gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. But it took a while for me to get over that because I still have to walk my dog. And so multiple times a day, I literally have to think about that incident. And so I thought maybe it would help to talk about it. And then when I did talk about it, I totally regretted it because I was shocked at the way people reacted to me. But
I'll take the incredibly bold stance of saying that I'm sorry that happened to her, right? I'm sorry that happens to anybody. That sounds terrible. It's so interesting, though. This conversation to me is chiming like with an origin story, like when you see those superhero movies and there's a villain and we meet the villain is on one tack and then something horrible happens to that person. And maybe it's a series of things, but they start to change the way they think. And then they have there's that kind of moment like Glenn Beck describes when they realize, society it's all rigged. And the only thing that's left to me is chaos or whatever. That's what this feels like in some ways, that we're getting, whatever this new Anna Kasparian is or is becoming an origin story.
What that moment taught me was some of the characteristics of the quote unquote left that I thought were good, right? Like the kindness, the open-mindedness, the, willingness to go out of your way to look out for people who need help, like that kind of stuff. There's a portion of the left that has shed those characteristics. They've taken on a more nihilistic approach to things. And they don't even believe in reforms. They just believe that everything about every political system, every program we have, every institution we have is just worthless and we need to burn it all down. Okay. So that nihilistic nature, I think, leads to a lot of really bad ideas and terrible behavior online. And that's pushing people out, pushing people away. And like, I mean, you look at places like Los Angeles, for instance, right? Or Cook County, which is where Chicago is. I paid very close attention to Cook County and what the election results were going to be in Cook County, because you have an influx of migrants going to Chicago, right? You have a lot of anger among the Black community in Chicago because they've been nickel and dimed by their local government.
It's crazy.
And at the same time, their mayor, Brandon Johnson, is doling out the cash for migrants and justifying it. And so they're angry. And so I'm watching all of this happen, and I'm just like, Democrats need to wake up. Mm-hmm. Because more and more voters feel like they're being abandoned by the Democratic Party, economically speaking. And everyone got mad at me. Everyone's like, oh, you're anti-immigrant. I'm not anti-immigrant. I'm not anti-immigrant.
Immigrants built this country.
Yes, my parents are immigrants.
Yes.
Okay, I am not anti-immigrant. But I do have a problem with the Biden administration neglecting the border, pretending like there wasn't a migrant crisis at all, allowing these municipalities to be inundated with migrants without any federal resources to deal with the problem. And what? We're going to pretend like that's not going to cause electoral harm? Of course it is. So when you look at places like LA, there was an 11-point swing toward the Republican Party. Kamala Harris still won, LA County, but 11% toward Republicans, that's crazy in Los Angeles.
My problem with the policy there, again, look, I could be friends and debate and whatever with anyone. If it's honest. Thomas Jefferson said,
wait a minute. So you can listen to her talk about the faction of the left that is bullying and insensitive and myopic and cruel online and cancel culture. And I don't think anybody can deny that there are some people, to say that only horrible people are right-wingers is completely false. I mean, there are horrible people all across different political ideologies, including the left. And I don't like those people either. But this idea that Glenn Beck is like, I get it as long as they're honest. Trump, dude. Part of the problem here in this two-party system is like, I can't stand the Democrats anymore. They made mistakes. Sure, yes, they did. So I'm going over to the other team of the populists. It's Trump, man. He's a con man. The end. He's not some like grassroots outsider he's a billionaire that's been conning the system the whole time. He doesn't care about anybody but himself. He said populist things to get votes, and they amplified it on social media and everywhere else, and it worked. And here we are in this, finally we can all come together on some common sense behind a guy who speaks the truth. BS.
With boldness, even the very existence of God. For if there be a God, he must surely rather honest questioning over blindfolded fear. Honest questioning means if I ask you a question and you present me with an answer and I'm like, I'm open to changing. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I don't buy it for a second. I mean, the guy was president for 4 years. We don't remember that. We don't remember all of the malarkey he said in between. Glenn Beck and his track record of Thomas Jeffersonian honesty. Give me a break. Hey, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I haven't, taken the crazy pill in the right way yet. What do you think? Am I insane? I feel like I'm going insane. The reasonable new Republican. What are these people talking about? And what is Anna Kasparian talking about? Right? I get disillusionment with the Democratic Party. I 100% get it. But now to be like, well, maybe it's time to kind of move over and side up with the the reasonable new populist Republic. It's absolute insanity. You let me know what you think in the comments.